I stood near the back of that ballroom, a place that felt like another world, tugging at the sleeves of my rented suit. It didn't fit. Too short in the arms, too tight across the chest, like it was built for someone who lived a different life. Maybe someone who belonged here. But I wasn't here for the chandeliers or the champagne. I was here for one reason, my son, Cody. This was his day. The one I dreamed about since he was a baby, since the night everything fell apart and I became the only parent he'd ever really know. Let me back up. I met Liz in high school. We weren't the smartest kids. Didn't come from money. But we had something, a kind of quiet hope. We got married at 19. I was fixing pipes even then, apprenticing under an old plumber named Gus. Liz worked at a diner. We lived in a tiny one-bedroom with peeling wallpaper, and a bathroom that leaked every time it rained. Then Cody came. A little boy with her eyes and my stubborn chin. We were broke, but for a while, we were happy. But somewhere along the way, Liz started changing. She'd look at me sometimes like I was holding her back. Like my hands, rough from work, stained with grease, were something to be ashamed of. She started going out more. "Girls' night," she'd say. "Just need a break." I didn't mind. I wanted her to be happy. I worked longer hours to give her space. Then one cold November night, my delivery van broke down on the way home. I called a buddy to tow it, caught a ride, and got back to our apartment around 9. The lights were off, but I saw a shadow move behind the curtain. I walked in quiet. The TV was off. The place was dark. But I heard voices from the bedroom. Low. Laughing. I froze. Then I heard her, my wife, say, "He won't be back for hours. He's working late." And a man's voice. "Good. I've been waiting to get you alone." I didn't need to see it. But I did anyway. I opened the door. There she was. In our bed. With her boss from the diner. I didn't scream. Didn't throw anything. I just looked at her. She screamed. The guy jumped up, fumbling for his pants. I didn't care about him. I walked to Cody's crib, picked him up. He was just 6 months old, and carried him out. I didn't take much. Just a few clothes, his baby blanket, my toolbox. I left the wedding ring on the kitchen table. That was the last time I ever lived with her. From that night on, it was just me and Cody. I didn't sleep that first week. Not really. I sat on the couch, Cody in my arms, listening to him breathe, wondering if I'd ever be enough. I worked 2 jobs. Every single day. By 6 a.m. I was out the door, plumbing gigs, fixing leaks, unclogging drains, crawling under sinks and basements that smelled like mildew and regret. By 4 p.m., I clocked out and drove the grocery delivery truck until midnight. There were winters when the heat got shut off. We'd sleep in layers, under every blanket I could find. I'd wrap Cody in my coat, hold him close, and tell him stories about heroes, men who didn't give up, no matter how hard it got. I missed birthdays, missed holidays, missed sleep. But I never missed a school event. Not one parent-teacher conference. Not one soccer game. Not one school play where he stood on stage in a cardboard robot costume, grinning like he'd won the lottery. I taught him how to tie his shoes, how to change a tire, how to look people in the eye when he spoke. And when he got older, I taught him something harder, how to carry pride without arrogance, how to be strong without being hard. He grew into a good man. Quiet, smart, kind. And then one day, he told me he was getting married. I smiled, hugged him. But inside, I was scared. Not of losing him. I knew he'd always be my son, but of her family. Her name was Rebecca, and she came from money. Her dad, Charles Whitmore, was some big-shot lawyer. Her mom, Eleanor, taught art history at a university. Their house had marble floors and a chandelier in the foyer. I met them once. They were polite. But I saw the way they looked at my hands. At my boots? At the way I said, "Ain't," instead of, "Isn't." Still, I didn't care. As long as Cody was happy. And on his wedding day, he looked happy. Until I saw the name tag. The ballroom was dazzling. Crystal chandeliers. Silk tablecloths. A cake that looked like it belonged in a museum. Guests in tuxedos and gowns. Waiters with trays of champagne. Music so soft it felt like a dream. I stood near the back, trying to blend in. I didn't belong here. But I didn't need to. I just needed to be seen, as Cody's father. At the family table, there was a golden sign, father of the groom. Under it, my name, Dale Mercer. And then, written in gold cursive ink, like a joke someone thought was clever, the words, low-educated fake dad. I stared at it. I blinked. Maybe I was imagining it. But then I heard the laughter. From the Whitmore side. Charles, the father-in-law, snorted into his drink. Eleanor covered her mouth, but her eyes were laughing. One of Rebecca's cousins leaned over and whispered, "Is that really him? He looks like he fixes toilets for a living." They all laughed. And someone said, loud enough for me to hear, "Well, what did you expect? He's a plumber. Probably didn't even graduate high school." He rushed to my face. My hands curled into fists. I looked around for Cody. He was over by the dance floor, smiling, posing for pictures with his new in-laws. He hadn't seen it. He couldn't have. I flipped the name tag over. Tried to sit. But the laughter didn't stop. I stood up. I was done. I turned to walk out. But just as I reached the aisle, a hand grabbed mine. I turned. It was Cody. He looked at me, calm, serious, but I could see fire in his eyes. "Dad," he said, "let's go home." I hesitated. "Cody, your wedding." He didn't look back. "Dad, let's go home." The music stopped. The DJ froze. Everyone turned. Cody looked at Rebecca, then at her whole family, and said, clear as day, "You all just made the biggest mistake of your lives." No yelling. No drama. Just turned and walked out with me. Into the cold night. And the next day? The next day, everything changed. The drive home was silent. Just the hum of the engine and the city lights blurring past. Cody didn't say a word the whole way. Not until we pulled up to the old apartment, the same one I raised him in. The same one I still live in, even though he could buy a mansion now. As I reached for my keys, he finally spoke. "You know, Dad, I saw it." I froze. "The name tag. I saw it before you did. I was watching from the side. I wanted to see what you'd do." I turned, confused. "Then why didn't you stop them? Why didn't you say something?" He looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes I hadn't seen in years. Pain. "Because I wanted to know if they'd really do it. If they'd humiliate you, the man who raised me, on the most important day of my life." He paused. "And they did." Then he pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, and handed it to me. It was a video. Recorded secretly. Charles, laughing, passing the gold pin to one of the cousins. Eleanor whispering, "Can you believe this guy is supposed to be family?" And Rebecca, my son's own wife, nodding, saying, "My real father is the man I'm marrying. That guy? He's just a placeholder." My heart dropped. But Cody? He was calm. Ice cold. "Dad," he said, "I never signed the prenup." I stared at him. "You didn't?" He shook his head. "They begged me to. Charles even offered to fund my startup if I did. But by then, I already had something." He paused. "A cybersecurity company. Built it quietly with a friend. That's why I stayed here. Live simple. Didn't want attention." Then he looked at me. "Last year, we got acquired. Clean deal. I made more than I ever imagined. Enough to buy their whole company and shut it down if I wanted to." I sat down hard. Cody's eyes narrowed. They thought they were getting a nice, quiet groom. A guy they could control. But they didn't realize I was already 10 moves ahead. He opened his laptop. "Tomorrow, they're gonna find out who they really messed with. And when I'm done, they'll wish they never laughed at the man who raised me." Next morning, I walked into the kitchen and Cody was already dressed, sharp black suit, tie perfect. Coffee was brewing, but he hadn't touched it. "Dad," he said, "today's the day they learn who you really are. Not some fake dad. You're the man who made me." He handed me a folder. Inside, company reports, financials, ownership papers. The Whitmore family business, Whitmore Holdings, a chain of luxury hotels and fine dining restaurants, was bleeding cash. And Cody? He'd been buying up their silent shares for months. Through dummy companies. Quietly. Without a trace. I looked up. You already own part of their company? He smirked. Try 48%. And as of 9 a.m. today, I'll control the majority. We arrived at Whitmore HQ at 9:15. A glass tower downtown. Cody walked in like he owned the place, because he did. Staff stopped talking. Phones hung mid-call. The same faces from the wedding, now wide-eyed, nervous. The boardroom was packed. Charles sat at the head of the table, still smug, still clueless. What is this? He snapped as Cody took a seat. Cody didn't flinch. He set a thick file on the table and looked around. Effective today, he said. I control 51% of Whitmore Holdings. Here's the proof. Legal docs. You can call your lawyers. Verify it. Silence. Then whispers. Charles grabbed the papers, hands shaking. His face went pale. You little snake, he stammered. Cody didn't raise his voice. No, Charles. I'm the son of the man you all mocked. The plumber you laughed at. The fake dad who worked 14-hour days so I could go to school. Who taught me how to stand tall. How to keep my word. How to do right, even when it's hard. The room went dead quiet. Cody turned to the board. Let me be clear. I'm not dissolving the company. But effective immediately, Charles, you're fired. Your daughter. Your wife. Every member of your family. You'll get severance in the mail. Gasps. Charles shot up, face red. You can't do this. This is my company. Cody didn't blink. It was. Now it belongs to the man you disrespected. Through me. Then he turned, nodded to me, and we walked out. Left them sitting there, stunned, broken, their whole world turned upside down. 2 weeks passed. The news blew up. Headlines everywhere. Groom takes down in-laws. From blue-collar kid to corporate king. Cody, once mocked, was now getting invites to speak at investor events, leadership panels, the whole deal. As for Rebecca, she disappeared. No more social media. No more luxury vacations. Rumor had it her family was being investigated for financial misconduct. Then, one rainy evening, there was a knock at Cody's door. Rebecca stood there, soaked, makeup running, clutching a ruined handbag. Cody, she said, voice breaking. I made a mistake. I was under pressure. My parents, they always made me feel like you weren't good enough. Like your dad was beneath us. Cody cut in, calm, steady. You realize now that the man you insulted owns the company you depended on. She looked past him. Saw me on the couch. Mr. Mercer. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I raised my hand. Stop. You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry for how it turned out. She froze. Cody pulled a small envelope from his pocket. Your parents signed this when they were desperate to sell the last of their shares. It's a clause. Bans any of your family, including you, from ever working in or owning shares in any Whitmore-related business again. He handed it to her. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Cody, please. Can't we just talk? He looked at her one last time. You had your chance to talk. You chose mockery over love. Humiliation over respect. Now I choose silence over reconciliation. And he closed the door. Softly, but for good. A year later, Cody started a scholarship program for kids from working-class families. Called it the Mercer Foundation, named after me. At the ceremony, the mayor shook his hand and asked, What inspired you? Cody turned and pointed to me, sitting in the front row. That man, he said. The one they laughed at for fixing pipes. The one who taught me that real worth isn't about degrees or bank accounts. It's about showing up. Standing tall. Loving without conditions. The room erupted in applause. And for the first time in my life, I felt like the richest man in the room. Was it revenge? Maybe. But it was justice too. Would I have done the same? I don't know. But I do know this. A father's love doesn't need a spotlight. It just keeps going. Every single day. And sometimes it wins.